The undergraduate student government has announced the full list of candidates for the 2022-2023 school year. What your vote could mean.
Students for a Democratic Society had their first meeting after their protest against the Ukrainian war was canceled.
Senators Portman and Brown have announced a new plan for the pension of former Delphi workers.
We've got a recap of President Biden's first State of the Union address. All this and more as Portage Pulse starts right now.
Good evening, Portage County, and welcome to this week's episode of Portage Pulse. I'm Olivia Sharp.
And I'm Kennedy Gotham. This afternoon, we start with updates on the university's mask mandate.
TV2 spoke with Manfred Van Doelman, the chair of the Pandemic Leadership Committee, this afternoon about the guidance.
We changed our guidance on campus based on the new CDC guidance that was released last Friday, as well as conversation with our local health experts, our public health experts, considerations and conversations with other universities in the state of Ohio throughout the week, and guidance of the Pandemic Leadership Committee.
Next year's undergraduate student government candidates have begun campaigning for USG. They kicked off the campaign with a meet and greet where students could go and meet the candidates in person. Last week, USG released its unofficial list of candidates following some technical difficulties with the election. But now candidates are all clear to get their name out. For more updates on the race, follow us on social media at KentWired.
The Kent State College of Arts and Science held a panel Tuesday to discuss Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. The panel, comprised of Kent State professors and experts, discussed the invasion of its implications for the economy and human rights. The panel also fielded questions from an audience of students and other guests. Kent State has recently cut the price of a vacant lot they have been trying to sell for over 2 years. The 43 acres of land was listed for $895,000, and the price has since been reduced to $665 or 25%. There are some legal issues with the land, like what the city is going to have to do for utilities on the land. The Kent Water Service ends a mile north of the vacant lot. Past that, the country utilities are in control.
Andrew Walls, a 26-year-old man from Kent, was charged with assault and possession of a firearm while intoxicated. Walls punched and yelled racial slurs at Cameron Morgan, a black woman, in downtown Akron on Saturday night, after the victim reportedly asked him to stop saying slurs. Charges are also pending on Walls' alleged assault of a different woman, and he could be facing federal hate crime charges.
New Kent City ordinance on food trucks is making it difficult for food truck owners to operate. The new ordinance provides inspections and permits, but food truck owners already pay for those services. Under pre-existing laws, food truck owners then came together to ask the city questions about the new law. They came up with an informational association to help the city better understand the owners. The food truck owners want their voices to be heard by the city.
Kent City Manager Dave Roller has received a 5% raise from the city. This will increase his salary from $158,493 to $166,417. This is the first raise he has received since 2019, and city leaders say he has, quote, earned it. Despite receiving this raise, he has no intention of leaving Kent.
The city of Streetsboro has greatly grown in the past year. Mayor Glenn Broska said that investments within the city broke all previous records. They also built the second largest industrial building in Streetsboro. They had 27 new businesses open or move locations. The business expansion has also caused the city's income tax to grow. Despite the pandemic, businesses within Streetsboro continue to succeed.
The Cuyahoga County Board of Elections has announced they will increase the stipend for poll workers by up to $1,000 in this year's upcoming election. This is a part of the Board of Elections' attempt to recruit poll workers for the May 3rd election. They are still looking for 4,000 poll workers to assist in tasks such as overseeing poll locations and handing out correct ballots.
Former aide of Donald Trump, Max Miller, filed paperwork at the Cuyahoga Board of Elections to run as a Republican for Congress in Ohio. Miller wanted to run against Representative Anthony Gonzalez, who voted to impeach Trump, but is now running against Representative Bob Gibbs. Gibbs' spokesman said he was seeking re-election and it could not comment on Miller. Miller said he is largely self-funded and is, quote, readying an aggressive blitz, touting the endorsement of President Trump. Christina Haggin wants to run for Congress in Ohio's 13th Congressional District. She has sent out petitions to inform people. When she previously ran in 2020, she had a 45% of the vote. Ohio is also redrawing its congressional map this year. The new districts are unclear because of legal challenges. When she was a representative for Ohio's District 50, the legislature between 2011 and 2019, she highlighted social conservatism, blue-collar workers, and supported Donald Trump.
Last night, Students for a Democratic Society held their first meeting following the canceled protest regarding the United States' involvement in Ukraine.
Many members were disappointed by the turnout for the protest and overall member involvement. TV2's Della Fowler has more on the story.
Thanks, guys. That's right. On Wednesday, the Students for a Democratic Society here at Kent State University held a protest against the U.S.'s involvement in a potential war in Ukraine. However, according to many club members, the lack of club turnout was, quote, embarrassing and depressing. Junior Hayden Palmer explained what they think the lack of attendance means for the club.
Nobody to show up is, pretty sad, especially if these people knew what it was about, knew that it was anti-war. By not going, it's almost saying, like, I'm comfortable with the war going on. I'm comfortable with not saying anything. We don't want to be pulled into this.
The club as a whole isn't getting discouraged by this. Many members like Junior Jillian DeCrease believe that the lack of attendance came from a lack of understanding. So in response, SDS will be hosting a teach-in Thursday in the Student Center.
There wasn't a huge amount of people, I think mostly because people don't really understand what's happening right now. You have probably heard that the U.S. is intervening to try to help the Ukrainian people, but that is sadly not the case at all.
Freshman Christian Heller believes that SDS has a special responsibility to the Kent campus because of May 4th, but they will be working to continue this legacy through actions and protests in the future.
We let down the people in the past who protested war, and we were letting down the people now who don't want to have this war. That moving forward, we will have a bigger impact, and we will be making a bigger statement about all the things we care about here at Kent State.
SDS meets every Thursday at 7 p.m. in room 314 of the Student Center. For TV2 News, I'm Della Fowler.
Biden delivered the most important speech of his presidency Tuesday, talking about abortion and many more national debates. The breakdown when we come back.
More data has come from the Conservative Political Action Conference regarding former President Trump, coming up.
Tomorrow's news leaders.
Today's top stories.
From an award-winning student newsroom.
This is TV2 News, Truly Portage County.
Welcome back. President Biden's State of the Union address highlighted some of the most pressing issues concerning Americans right now, such as abortion, which will be decided by the Supreme Court this year. Biden spoke on his Supreme Court nominee taking the place of Stephen Breyer.
If you want to go forward, not backwards, we must protect access to health care, preserve a woman's right to choose, and continue to advance maternal health care for all Americans.
The Conservative Party annual convention was held this week, where conservatives gather and speak on national issues where former President Donald Trump was a favorite.
The NATO nations, and indeed the world, as he looks over what's happening strategically with no repercussions or threats whatsoever, they're not so smart. They're looking the opposite of smart. If you take over Ukraine, we're going to sanction you, they say. Sanction? Well, that's a pretty weak statement.
The annual Conservative Political Action Conference showed that former President Donald Trump has remained very influential in the GOP grassroots. A poll was made and showed many of the people attending were in support of Trump, and 85% of the attendees would support him if he were to run again. Trump also shared his views on the Russia and Ukraine conflict. A potential crisis is unfolding at Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Ukraine.
Ukraine's foreign minister is now pleading for a ceasefire to handle the situation. CNN's Reed Binion has more on the story.
Persistent Russian assaults on Ukraine have triggered a major fire at the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. Ukraine's foreign minister tweeting, "If it blows up, it will be 10 times larger than Chernobyl. Russians must immediately cease fire, allow firefighters, establish a security zone." Schools, homes, apartment buildings, and hospitals, all places where everyday civilians dwell, are facing relentless Russian attacks as death and violence unfold across Ukraine for an 8th day Thursday.
We have continuous shelling for 26 hours. 26 hours they are destroying our city.
Following French President Emmanuel Macron's phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin Thursday afternoon, France is now warning we should expect the worst is yet to come.
When Putin says the word peace, you need to arm yourself and march forward, because it exactly means the opposite. It means war.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said the attack on Ukraine is going according to plan Thursday, and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov threatened a third world war involving NATO and Russia would be nuclear.
Putin today is the most dangerous man in the world, perhaps most dangerous man in the history of the world, because he has this blind ambition to reunite the greater Russia. At the same time, he's sitting on one of the world's great nuclear arsenals. So this is something we have to carefully calculate.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
The Ukrainian State Emergency Service says 5 people have been killed, including 3 children, in a strike that hit several houses in the village of Markalivka, southwest of Kiev. 3 people, including 2 children, were rescued from the wreckage, the SES said. 8 houses caught fire. This is the first time that areas to the southwest of Kiev have been struck. The origin and nature of the strike is not yet known.
The same day Russia invaded Ukraine, a Chinese aircraft entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone. Taiwan's president has expressed the country's solidarity to Ukraine. The president of Taiwan also says that history teaches the consequences of ignoring military aggression. The threat against Ukraine was seen as unprovoked military action, but the threat in Taiwan was made by China's ruling Communist Party. Parents of 216 children separated from their families at the U.S.-Mexican border under the Trump administration still have not been found. A federal court filing Wednesday provides a progressive report on President Biden's pledge to reunite migrant families. Since Biden made a commitment to undo the Trump administration's border policy, 125 children have rejoined their parents. According to a court filing in November, more than 3,000 children were separated from their families at the border under Trump.
A recent press conference with Rob Portman and Sherrod Brown has brought new legislation for Delphi workers to the desk.
The Ohio Redistricting Committee has yet to create new maps for the state of Ohio. Find out how this will affect the upcoming election after this short break.
United States Senators Rob Portman and Sherrod Brown have announced new legislation that would restore the pensions of retired employees of the Delphi, a bankrupted auto parts supplier. The corporation had previously cut pensions by 70%, and the bill would require the U.S. Treasury to make up the difference. Most of the retirees reside in the Midwest, with a majority in Michigan and Ohio.
The deadline for candidates to file for the U.S. House of Representatives is today, March 4th. The May 3rd primary election was to be postponed, but Secretary of State Frank LaRose has indicated there is no reason the election should be delayed. The Ohio Supreme Court has been denying maps that have been redrawn. Maps have been submitted and denied just this Tuesday. Ohio also needs to reduce its U.S. House seats from 16 to 15. Ohio is currently represented by 12 Republicans and 4 Democrats.
This is a work in progress. As you know, things are changing every single day. Candidates have to adjust, but can't really making decisions based on candidates.
Concealed firearm permits issued in Ohio increased by 20% from 2020 to 2021. Almost 95,000 permits were approved last year. Dean Rick, executive director of the Buckeyes Firearm Association, said the increase in firearm permits was due to, quote, the COVID-19 pandemic and in response to the election of Democrat Joe Biden. There has also been an increase in concealed carry applications being denied from approximately 1,700 to around 2,600. Senate Bill 215 has passed through the Ohio Senate, which would allow people in the state to carry a weapon without a concealed carry permit. This bill is also set to pass through the Ohio House of Representatives and then to Mike Dewine's desk to be signed into law. The bill would also prevent people from having to tell law enforcement that they are armed during traffic stops.
Governor Mike Dewine has halted the sale of Russian vodkas statewide. Ohio's 478 liquor agencies have been asked to pull Russian standard vodka brands from their shelves immediately. Dewine, Ohio's U.S. Senator and Congressional delegation say Russia's actions are unacceptable and unprovoked. Dewine also mentioned that Ohio is home to nearly 80,000 Ukrainians. Governor Mike Dewine signed an executive order banning state investments with contracts with Russia. The executive order includes all state agencies, boards, commissions, and universities. The executive order will last indefinitely and directs all state entities to end any contracts with Russia and not sign any new. It is not clear how much money is invested to the state level at Russia.
Give me a reason. Blow up.
A few hours before a November 2nd custody hearing involving his daughter, Ben Dusing posted a video on Facebook for two attorneys involved in his case.
Every person that works at this law firm will be committed, full bore, to bringing the wrath of God down on both of you guys.
When the video was played in Kenton County Family Court, Dusing got an earful from Judge Christopher Mailing.
It is a direct threat to my staff attorney, a direct threat.
Mailing said he would ask the Commonwealth attorney to investigate.
Your conduct is way outside the canons of ethics.
10 days later, the Kentucky Bar Association called for Dusing's suspension.
It was a very poor way of making that point because it could be misconstrued.
Dusing told us in December it was political speech protesting corruption.
To the extent that it genuinely caused anybody to feel threatened, that is my mistake. I take full responsibility for that. I'm sorry for that. Ask for forgiveness for that. And if there's anything I can do to clean up that mess, I certainly want to do it.
But today, the Kentucky Supreme Court ruled there was probable cause to believe that Dusing's conduct poses a substantial harm to his clients or to the public, and it suspended him from the practice of law until further notice. Dan Monk, WCPO 9, I-Team.
After a difficult divorce process, Kim Kardashian has been declared legally single. We've got all the details after the break.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
The United Nations of Cats Federation banned Russian cats from their competitions. The International Cat Federation has members in 40 countries. Russia will be banned for the next 3 months, and this comes after the conflicts with Russia and Ukraine. The Federation called Russia's actions, quote, unprecedented acts of aggression. Cats bred in Russia and cats living in Russia will not be allowed to compete.
Kim Kardashian has been legally single by the Los Angeles court. Her request was filed 3 months ago in the midst of her divorce battle with former spouse Kanye West. West has opposed the divorce and has been vocal about it and his disapproval of Kim's new relationship through social media. Kardashian is hoping that the court terminating their marital status will, quote, help Kanye to accept that our marital relationship is over and assist in peacefully co-parenting our children. Very exciting news for Kim. I know it's been a very long road and they have 4 kids, so hopefully this will help bring some peace to the Kardashian household.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever get peace. I think there's just too many people living in one house.
Yeah.
There's always something going on with them. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't even keep track of all of them. There's too many K names.
Either. There are lots of different Kardashian siblings who all have very, very colorful lives.
Yes.
So it'll be very interesting to see. Hopefully this news will calm some things down on Kim's end.
And the cats in Russia and the Federation of Cats. Honestly, I thought I should send my cat to a competition and have her be in a show because she's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
I love my cat.
What kind of tricks do you think they do at cat competitions?
I don't know if they do tricks. I think they might just like sit there and look cute. I mean,
Absolutely.
Which they're very good at.
Because with dogs, they go through obstacle courses and things like that. But I don't think that cats would do something like that.
Cats are too stubborn.
All right, well, that about wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Olivia Sharp.
And I'm Kennedy Gotham. Have a great weekend, Portage County.
This is Portage County's TV2, broadcasting from the campus of Kent State University, streaming online at KentWired.com.